Hello, welcome back to Freddy in the Shed, up in the Radio Shack, and another couple of new little PMR radios sent in by Retevis, this time the dual watch RT616s. Let's crack into the box, let's see what we got. Now we get two radios in this pack, so it's a matched pair. Firstly, a nice user manual, printed instructions. So many radios from China nowadays are doing away with this. I do like to sit down and look through a user manual over a cup of coffee. Call me a bit sad, I know, but yeah, it's nicely printed. The English is actually pretty good, very easy to understand. Then we get the two radios themselves, the RT616s. Everything was in plastic bags, of course. I've removed that for convenience. Charging lead. Again, I like this. It's a Y-shaped lead, so it's one socket goes into the charger. There is no charger provided, but we've all got phone chargers, haven't we? And then we've got the dual output. This is just a charging cable. It's not a programming cable. That you'd have to buy separately. We've got the obligatory lanyards. These look like neck lanyards, which you may or may not want to use. And then we've got the belt clips. Appear to be just plastic in this this circumstance. Sometimes I prefer the ones that have got the little metal clip there with the screws. These ones, yeah, they're okay. Might have preferred that if that was a little bit stronger, but I'm sure they'll do the job. Radio itself does have a built-in lithium-ion battery. It is built in literally into the back of the battery compartment. Unfortunately, it's not one of those little Nokia batteries that you can swap about and have plenty of spares. Again, yeah, maybe might have been better with a removable battery, but to be fair, you're likely only to want to use one battery, and dead simple to charge up. Straight out of the box, medium-sized antenna, not the biggest, not the smallest. What I do like though is that we've got a manual on-off switch and volume control.
Welcome.
Find that so much easier than having to press a button and go into a rocker switch up and down. Nice clear LCD display. You've got dual channels on this. You've got two lots of frequencies, so it has a dual watch mode. Quite useful. Let's say that you're in a group, and a large group, and you want to set one group on one channel and then the other group on the other channel, but you want to listen to both lots of conversations. Save having this going around and scanning all the time, where you might pick up interference on other channels. On dual watch mode, you can simply listen to the two channels simultaneously. So yeah, quite a nice little feature, that sort of thing that you might get on a amateur radio, like a 70cm 2-meter radio. Quite nice to see it on a PMR radio. Everything else, it's quite clearly laid out. We've got the buttons on the front. We'll come back to those in a minute. Just one push TT, just a rubberized button there on the side. Radio does have a power meter, and for once this one does seem quite responsive to the signals that it receives. On top of the radio, we've got the headset jack there, if you want to put a pair of earphones or a radio headset. It does have the obligatory LED torch. It's quite bright actually. Some of these are quite weak. This one, yeah, they do come in useful. Moving down this side, we have a monitor button. This is to check that the channel is clear. It just basically breaks the squelch. Turns off the CTCSS digital codes as well, so you can check the channel is clear. Below that, and I think this is quite useful, you get this on a Bofang, has a FM radio, so just a built-in FM radio.
I think as well as we both grew up in homes where to some extent we were...
Just a manual seat, manual search. It's all very sombre at the moment. We've got the Queen's funeral coming up when I'm making this video. And it is quite useful. I found when I had my Bofang that I was away camping, I'd actually have that tuned onto a news station. And if you are out in the wilderness, quite nice to get the news. So yeah, quite a nice feature. The main switch, the rocker switch in the middle, is just a simple channel select.
16, 15, 14, 15, 16.
If you hold it down, you then can change between the dual watch mode there. There we go, we're now on the bottom.
16, 15, 14, 13.
So you can choose which channels you would like to monitor. Next to that, we have a lock button. If we hold that down, it will lock the radio to stop you accidentally changing any of these settings. And then we go into the menus. Now, of course, the good thing about this radio is that it's got the built-in LCD display, saves you having to connect it to a computer every time you want to change something. Now, I'm not going to go all through the menu options. There are quite a few. But basically, the first one is the CT, CSS and the DCS digital codes. What are they? Well, they're sometimes called privacy codes. The idea being if you go to a very busy area like an arena or a campsite, something like that, chances are that other people are going to be using PMR radio, so you have privacy codes. So with, for example, we've got a pair of radios here. They're already pre-programmed with the same privacy codes on each of the channels, but the idea being that they block other people's signals so that you don't accidentally receive their transmissions. However, if you are somewhere and someone's got something like a Bofung radio like this, an open radio, or they have one of these digital radios with the codes switched off, your transmissions can be heard by other people. So don't think that you are talking privately. It's just that it blocks interference. So they're basically anti-interference codes. So it's got that. You can switch off the annoying bleep on the keypad. It has a voice activated function. They tend to work better if you buy the additional headset, but that means that when you talk into the radio, it will transmit automatically. When you stop talking, hopefully it will stop transmitting. You can switch that dual mode off and on, so you only monitor one set of channels, but then that defeats probably the radio. Has a built-in timeout timer. If you've got someone that likes to talk for a great length of time, you can put in a timer there so the radio will automatically switch off, saving the battery. You can switch between wide and narrow band. Maybe if you're struggling to get a signal, that might help you. It has 10 built-in ringtones. If you want to switch those on, I find those a little bit annoying, but so the other person will know it's you sort of transmitting. Also, not for the UK, but it has the weather channel built in. So for the American market, for example, you've got the weather channel. Unfortunately, in the UK, we are unable to receive that. Well, I'm not going through that again, but you get the idea. I mean, you do get a lot of functions and features on these radios for your money. Right, I'm going to go out and do a basic field test now. Now, the thing is, I've explained this before, PMR radios, certainly the legal half-watt radios, they're short-distance communication devices. They will work a long distance if you're lucky enough to live in the open countryside. You can get 1 or 2 kilometres or even further with ideal conditions out of these radios. I live in a suburban area. It's quite built up, very compact housing estate, and unfortunately that does reduce the range of these half-watt radios. On previous testing, and I've done quite a lot of testing, I generally get about half a mile, maybe a kilometre at the absolute maximum. But to be honest with you, half a mile, 600 to 700 metres really is the absolute max. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go for maximum distance. It's not really what these radios are intended for. I'll go out into the streets, put a few rows of houses between the base radio and the one I'm going to carry, and then we'll just see what comes back. We're really looking for clear audio quality more than distance. So let's go and do that. Right, just to change things round a little bit, I've come out in the car today, give this a test inside a vehicle, because you might be using the radios that way. Not driven too far, just a couple of streets away, just to put a few rows of houses between the transmitting radio and then the one in the shack. Distance wise, I'd estimate 350 metres, something like that. It's a bit hard to say, to be honest. But anyway, let's give this radio a try and see what it sounds like. Yeah, testing 1 2 1 2 3 4. Testing 1 2 3 4. Sitting inside the car. Yeah, testing 1 2 1 2 3 4. Testing 1 2 3 4. Sitting inside the car. Calling back to the shack. Audio check. Audio check. 1 2 1 2 3 4. And there we go, back up in the shape. Yeah, that was absolutely fine. It's what you'd expect on a half-watt radio in a built-up area. The audio was clear, very defined. Probably not as loud, though, on some of the other Retevis radios that I've tested, even ones with a smaller case. I think their speakers went a little bit louder, might have had a little bit more resonance, a bit more bass. But, I mean, overall, absolutely fine, what you'd expect from a half-watt PMR radio. Going to bring this one to a conclusion now. Things I like about it, a couple of things I think they could have done better. Firstly, I like the fact that you've got lots of buttons on the fascia of the radio. So many radios nowadays are double press, triple press to enter certain features. I like it, the fact it's got the FM radio. I think that's quite useful. And even silly little things you might think, like the LED light. Again, it's surprising how much you might use that out in the field. The dual watch feature, yeah, very useful if you're in a large group of people. Things they could have maybe improved. Well, once again, the battery, I think if it had removable Nokia battery, always quite handy if you're going away on holiday, just to take a cheap spare battery. And the clip, yeah, could have done a little bit better at the clip. But for the money, I think it's a very nice little radio. Due to unforeseen circumstances, this video this time has taken me quite a long time to produce, and during that time Retevis have contacted me and they've told me that the RT616 is going to be discontinued. There is still stock on the website whilst I'm making this video, but once they've gone, they have gone. It's a bit of a shame because it's a nice radio with the controls on the front and everything. So if it's something that you're interested in, I would suggest that you perhaps get over there sooner than later and get yourself a couple on order. So I think that's really it from me, for old Fred in the Shed. There's the thumbs up from Fred. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for your view time. I do appreciate it. I'm a small channel, don't get that many views. And as always, please, please, please look after yourself. Take care. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.